viewers, looking at political developments across the length and breadth of Nigeria. I know if you extend it outside, there will still be enough to talk about. But let's face home first. And joining us right now is Professor Udenta, who is a founding National Secretary, Alliance for Democracy. Good morning and welcome to you.
It's a pleasure to be with you once more.
Always a pleasure to have you, Prof.
So much.
Well, this is what we're looking at. Today, the PDP is supposed to be holding. Now, what name we're going to call that meeting is unclear. The acting national chairman, Madam Agum, had said it was an expanded caucus meeting, but the NWC, some members of the NWC say, no, you can't do that. You know, you can't unilaterally change what it is that we already agreed to hold, which is a NEC meeting. But as we speak right now, and I'm sure our pictures will come up shortly, we are correspondents on the ground saying that security men are currently being deployed to the entrance, I imagine, to keep a watch on things and make sure that things are calm at the Secretariat. But what do you make of the developments that we saw last week when the leadership of the PDP paid a visit to the INEC chairman leading up to now?
Okay, now, so let me try as much as possible to unpack, this apparent confusion. It's actually very clear, simple and straightforward. And I speak with a sense of history. You give my caption as the founding National Secretary
of the
Alliance for Democracy.
That's a long time.
That's 1998.
Indeed.
The foundation of this particular republic. So I know the story of party, not just my own party. And I know party crisis and party, problems. And I know how parties can implode or decompose or fragment. Because I've been there. That's why AD is defunct today. Because of this kind of crisis, we don't manage this kind of crisis very well. PDP problems started as political, but now have morphed into legal. It's a legal problem. It's not a political problem. All this is here are political grandstandings. The matter is legal. In a party, there is a head. The head is a national chairman. There is a neck, is a national secretary. Then you have the body composed of the NWC. The head leads, supported by the neck. Then the rest will follow. The chairman of the party wrote to INEC, to the best of my understanding, asking for their concurrence in terms of having their NEC meeting as prescribed by the law alone. INEC replied, we cannot accept this letter, this communication, which is vital to validate it, except the national secretary. They didn't mention a name. Go sign it with you. That means the NEC was dead as of that time. INEC is the regulator. Whether we like it or not, whether it's injurious to party autonomy or independence, it is prescribed as a regulator. So whatever INEC says is very crucial for parties to listen to. If the NEC says we can't be part of your NEC, from where you can even program their convention, from where you can elect a new NWC, that will then lead your party to the next convention next year for the presidential election, if you don't follow that due process, critically, solemnly, and rationally, the party will die. So what did the party do? They rather run to say, we have to go to INEC to now understand who the national secretary of the party is. The chairman is not in dispute. He's accepted that Damagu, after replacing IU, is the chairman. Who is the national secretary? They're three contenders. The regional national secretary elected with IU, Senator Anyanwu, Udokoye, nominated by the caucus of the party from the southeast, and then Koshedo, the deputy national secretary, who at one time purported to be the acting national secretary. And they did not specify rule who is. But the Supreme Court ruling is very clear, whether you lie or not. You go back to the foundation, Concept Belair, whatever they call it in law, the originating, the beginning.
Casus belli.
Casus belli. So if you have Senator Anyanwu as the regional national secretary, and there's some issues and disputes whether he should remain or not, you must start from there. If you deviate from there, and they could laugh at you and say, okay, fine. As a party, you're free to do what you want to do.
This is exactly what the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, had said over time, that this is basically what the PDP, the trouble the PDP stands, the risk they run if they run without Anyanwu.
It is not just the minister you referred to.
Yes.
The party is composed of organs. Today, the most vital organ is the Governors Forum because of the weakness of the NWC. And mostly weakness of some other organs. That is where the chairman of the PDP Governors Forum has taken charge. the governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed. Virtually all the meetings of the party, caucuses, NEC, and WC have been holding in the lodge of the Bauchi state, in Abuja here. They drive to resurrect the party, regenerate it, renovate it. The idea is that PDP is, with all its limitations and deficiencies, the solid, concrete instrument the so-called coalition has. Talking about coalition is simply because of the perceived weakness of the PDP. So once it recovers, it is the most dominant because it's everywhere, in every home, in every village, in every ward, in every LG. So once you have the party standing tall, coalitions can build around it for a run in 2027. That means the governor, having recognized that, together with the Governors Forum and the BOD, they said, we need to do what is legal, even though it may be painful, especially to the southeast, that said that Anyang will be traded or whatever happened there, we'll have a new person coming on board. The key thing is that in politics, you must take difficult decisions for the survival of a party. And the most crucial thing for PDP is that in the next 2 or 3 months, the tenure of this NWC, that they're racked by tensions and difficulties and problems, will come to an end. So how do you manage and navigate these 2 or 3 months so you don't implode the party? So today's meeting is an expanded caucus meeting of the party because the chairman has pronounced it. Nobody in the party has the authority to relate with all the intergovernmental agencies. If the presidency writes PDP, it's the chairman and the secretary. If INEC writes the chairman and the secretary, judicial writes the chairman. If the media communicate to the party, it's the chairman and the secretary. Where the chairman stands as the head and the secretary as the neck is where the party goes. Every other thing is just letting off steam. It may be righteous steam, it may be sense of exclusion or anger. So the party has to manage that politics of inclusivity. But the legal situation is clear. INEC has rejected today's NEC meeting, so be it. The chairman of the party has accepted that rejection and has converted it after due consultation with the chairman of the Governors Forum, the governors of the party, the BOD, into an expanded caucus where they can sit down and then duly get Anyanwu back on as the secretary of the party and then fix the next NEC that will then now usher the convention of the party somewhere down the line. Every other thing is expected political noise, what we call in the Igbo, ndola. You don't expect politics to be just a cut-off, one-off event. It's a process that is riddled with complications.
Well, it wasn't quite a question. I think the point I was trying to make is that this is the same thing. It will seem that this is what the FCT minister has been saying, but people are saying, look, this man, you're a rabble-rousing within the PDP. But it does appear that what he's saying has weight.
As I said, this matter has nothing to do with an individual. A legal situation is an objective, concrete situation. The party has recognized, because if you trace the background to that, which you don't have time in this show to do, that Anyanwu contested an election, contested an election, and not been issued, should have left that office of the national secretary and the zone from where he came, nominated somebody else to replace him there. He said the constitution didn't provide for him to totally resign. He may or may not. Supreme Court has now ruled and said, you go back to your records and find out who your true national secretary is. To be on the safe side, the party then, after these months, of convulsions and disputations, have to say, it is indeed Anyanwu. Not because somebody else has said it's Anyanwu, because it lost an Anyanwu space, but because the party, led by the Governors Forum chairman, Bala Mohammed of Bauchi State, and other people working together, say, we have come to an inescapable conclusion, and we appeal to our brothers and sisters from the southeast, who are agitating that Anyanwu is no longer part of them. That what the law has prescribed, as expressed and interpreted by INEC, is crucial for party survival. We can play the politics of accommodation and forget the issue of legality. Somewhere down the line, APC suffered the fate in 2019 in Zamfara State, where it won decisively and lost everything. The party have to ensure that we do not suffer that fate and fate of other parties in the past. That is key. So bottom line is that beneath the noise, beneath the apparent confusion, is a straight line.
So today, what your stance is
not my stance.
They are holding an expanded.
It is not Udenta's stance. It's the legal stance. Once INEC has said your NEC meeting is dead on arrival, it is dead on arrival. They can protest, dispute, gather somewhere. That is not a NEC meeting. The chairman who INEC recognizes has said, together now with the national secretary, it's an expanded caucus meeting. Party leaders should rally around that. And they run the chairman of the party, secretary of the party, chairman of the Governors Forum, and others to say this expanded party meeting could begin the process of rebuilding the party and bringing everybody together in an inclusive manner. PDP is not the only party with this problem. Depending on the range of the positions you want to.
I was just about to say, let us go to APC, because over the weekend we saw the news, and I don't know whether that came to you as a surprise, the resignation of the erstwhile national chairman, Mr. Ganduje, you know, on health grounds. Did you receive that with some surprise?
It didn't come to me as a surprise, because first and foremost, we should be talking more about the visible, manifest humiliation of a sitting vice president. That may be the one that should be surprising to you and me. For the first time in our contemporary political history, we had the Vice President Atiku Abubakar, and this who for 4 years was regarded highly, managed very well by his boss, Obasanjo, for 4 years. The situation became volatile and naturally degenerated into some irreparable political dispute in the second term. You have Yaradua, who had a firm, good, solid relationship with his vice before he died, before Jonathan became the president. You have Osibanjo and Buhari, in spite of issues and tensions here and there, who was highly regarded and highly respected. So then you find a vice president 2 years into his tenure, was actually being told, you have no part of this, you are not part of this government. Because if in his zone, his name wasn't mentioned in the endorsement of the president, and if the party and the presidency reaffirmed that the president of this country has no known running mate in 2027, it's after the convention he will decide. It is not done. The tradition is a unified presidency. There's no separation between the two. So if you're taking one, you're taking him along with him in the journey. History has expressly stated that. To say you don't even need him, he's not even sure where he stands until after the convention, where the president will decide. It should be a Tinubu Shettima joint ticket going forward into 2027. That is conventional. That is what is accepted rule. If you don't do that, you're setting as president. The vice president will say, am I really part of this government? Do I constitute myself into a nuisance? Or people around me who fear that I'm excluded? That has come in now with even Barao, the deputy senate president, being promoted. Dogara being promoted. All manners of characters appearing from the woodworks, positioning themselves in 2027. And the VP has just spent 2 years in office. I predicted to you here, failed economic policies, rampaging poverty, increased fuel prices, and so on. Multidimensional, difficult for the people. You find that this government has ceased to govern in 2 years. It is now politics galore, culminating from the humiliation of the sitting vice president to the resignation of the national chairman on a vacuous, empty claim of health. So PDP is not only party in crisis, not only SDP, not only Labour. The implosion of APC is only a matter of time. And the problem there is that the president is away. If you listen to interviews from El-Rufai and the rest of them, the North is ready for him, apparently. So you have to juggle situations in the North. Am I bringing this person in? Am I sacrificing this soul politically in order for me to have a chance? And in the South, where you think it's pulverizing and neutralizing, that's the level of the upper elite, not the level of the masses. All those in PDP, they are not the campaign with the millions of people who voted them in. They are disconnected from them. They are completely disaligned from the mass of the people. That means he's away too. That on the ground, 60% of the masses of the South are not with him. That means if you have a coherent, cohesive, for example, a resurrected PDP and the rest of the coalition aligning with it, with a candidate maybe from the South, it will give not only the president a run for his money, it will flog him. And if the North is convulsing, as apparently it is clear now, that is a nightmare scenario for the government. You know, you've raised a very vital issue, because some people say that the resignation of the national chairman cannot be or might not be unconnected with what you have now termed as the humiliation of a sitting vice president. Yes, it is be humiliated. Basically and openly. I think that we can delve a little more into that connection, if you see a connection between the two, but especially since you have also talked about the politics that's on the ground and whether the current president is trying to find a way out for himself in 2027. But I want to quickly go to what we're being told is currently happening now. What the reports we're getting is that the security personnel fully deployed to the PDP National Secretariat, we have said that they're currently there, but what our correspondent tells us, and he is someone who has covered PDP affairs for years, says that the deployment is unusual. They say that the officials of the party believe that this is to stop
the proposed NEC or expanded caucus meeting. So it would seem that whatever caucus meeting, is going to be held today, whether NEC meeting or caucus meeting, it does appear that that meeting might not be holding with the presence of the number of security men.
I can clarify that.
Okay, that have now been deployed there. But from what our correspondent also says, he says that some members of staff of the party have been allowed to go into the premises of the secretariat without any resistance from the police. So we're very reluctant to use that word siege, siege on the Udenta Plaza. But the pictures that we're seeing says that the deployment is unusual and that the police are beginning to cordon off Dalaba Street, which is the road leading into Udenta Plaza. So it's unclear whether this is to prevent the meeting from holding or whether this is to provide security for those who will be converging on the Udenta Plaza for the security for the next caucus meeting.
I can clarify that. Even though I'm not a member of the party, I run parties.
Okay.
A very important, formidable political party. When PDP was accused of not having paid ground rent and the FCT shut her down the secretariat,
yes,
the party had about 4 meetings. Caucus meeting, NEC meeting at Legacy House, at the governor's forum, at the governor of Bauchi State's lodge in Abuja.
Indeed.
So the secretariat is important. But that's not the only venue the party can meet. The party meets as a body of individuals. Where the national secretary, the national chairman, and the leadership of the party is, that's where the party is. So in essence, if you have this kind of contestation, whether it is genuine contestation or letting off steam, by right, the law has to intervene. It is normal that when you have such a dicey situation,
a contestation as to whether or not it's a NEC meeting,
yes, you don't leave anything,
or whether it is an expanded
that's not the issue. You don't leave anything to chance in order to avoid some fracas.
So you think the security agencies are being preemptive?
You got to be preemptive. I mean, give it to them at this stage until later you can begin to find some other motive behind their involvement and their presence. But for now, when you have this kind of contestation, the point is that the chairman of the party is the one that proclaims with the national secretary the mood of the party meeting, even though with concurrence of the other members of the NWC and the NEC. So if they have the chairman of the party and the secretary of the party and the leadership of the governor's forum and the rest of the party leaders saying it is an expanded caucus meeting, and we're meeting in the lodge of the Bauchi governor, or meeting in Legacy House, that is where the meeting hold. If INEC is to be invited, INEC will appear there. INEC will never appear at a meeting he doesn't recognize. Because even if you hold your so-called NEC meeting by the deputy chairman, he's not known by INEC. He doesn't know who he is. You can't have said communication from him. It's only Damagu and now Anyanwu that have said communication. And the key thing for the South, he's not from the South, he's a very proud person from the Southeast. The South has paid his due in PDP. From 1998, the party was formed by Elise Kwame, former vice president, who been expected to become president in 1999. They were delivered for the party. The strategic option for the PDP Southeast caucus now is to say, in the next convention, this national secretary position that is wobbling for us, it is going to be rezoned back to us. We can have opportunity for 4 years to present somebody. We can't end it all or scatter it all in 2-3 months. When the tenure of this NWC will come to an end. So today, the expanded caucus meeting of the party, endorsed by the chairman and the secretary, with the leadership of the governor's forum, and the rest of the party, including the reconciliation committee, we meet whenever they have to meet and take crucial decisions about the life of the party going forward.
Yeah, so let me quickly come back to the APC, because you quickly said, let's talk about the humiliation of a sitting vice president. But, while this ticket, because you said it's one ticket.
It's a conjoined ticket.
Yes, that of the president and the vice president. Yes. For 4 years, isn't that correct?
It's only 2 years now.
Yes, but is it?
And it can't be endorsed.
Is it guaranteed? Is it guaranteed for 4 years? I mean, for another 4 years.
Well,
is it guaranteed? Is it set somewhere? Or is it exactly convention?
Even if you look at the practice of this democracy from those we borrowed from, I'm not going to say I'm diminishing Nigerian independence, autonomy, or political choice. But it's a presidential system. Here you have Biden for that 4 years, Kamala Harris, where you had Obama for 8 years with Biden, where you had Reagan for 8 years with Bush, where you have, it can go on and go on. It's rare. Because the choice of a running mate is the most important choice in the cycle of the presidential election. That's spectrum. From the day you are nominated to when you are sworn in. Because here, the VP is a heartbeat away from power. God forbid, in case it happens, across the world to a president. He's a VP that steps in. So you wouldn't want somebody who does not reflect you. Your tendency, your inner thinking, your thought processes, your vision of policy and so on. So if he maintains that, then he's going to run with you, not only for the completion of the first term, but for the completion of the second term, if he so desires to seek for it. For you to do otherwise, must convince the people that this choice was wrong at the issue. So 2 years into the tenure, you're having a party declaring openly to the chagrin of Nigerians or the bemusement of the public that it is when you have a convention renominating the president, you will then decide. And you as sitting vice president, what would you do?
Was it the one who said that? Wasn't that
the party says so? And here the presidency concur with that party statement. You can check the record, fact check me on that. The party said until the convention is done, and then the presidency said, no, the president will not make a decision until the convention. So if that is true, you are sending a signal to the running mate, to the vice president, who is conjoined with the president, whose heart beats with his own, whose passion and vision aligns with his. Oh boy, you may not be part of this ticket anymore. That's what happened in Northeast. That's why there was a meltdown. That's why they had to smuggle away party leaders. So the crack up you find in opposition parties because they're out of power. But the power contestation in APC will soon begin to gather steam. And as I predicted here, and other platforms, because the president had been issued, transcended the political state, disavowed the political class. They did not include them from the day he took office. Subsidy is gone and so on. Without due consultation. He now thinks after 2 years of failed policies, he has to go back to politics. Going to politics, shortening governance. Because the moment it begins, Ndorondoro takes charge. It becomes not only obsessive, it becomes takes a life of its own.
Which, Professor Udenta, I really have I have a lot of questions, to be very honest, because I keep wondering whether or not we can afford this, 4-yearly democracy, especially when you look at when the real politicking begins and, just how long we have for governance. There's so many questions to ask you. Even the formation of the ADA, whether it is possible, what steam they can gather, and what will happen to them should the PDP be resuscitated.
I can take care of that too.
In 30 seconds.
Yes, quickly.
1 minute.
ADA is, call it a child of necessity in waiting. If for any reason the dominant parties existing do not get it right, they will have a backdrop that there is something fresh, branded out there that is not contaminated by regime intent, by regime to do what? Destroy its autonomy of space and voice. So people around can say, oh my God, if PDP is still wobbling, well, I hope not. And the SDP can see the level of controversy there and level of party. ADA may become that platform, that apparatus that can latch onto. But I do know that time is on the side of PDP. You know why? Presidential nomination process will begin late May to July 2026. That's why people are alarmed with the rush to judgment by this president and his team over the convulsions even in the polity and the party, APC. PDP will do a convention between August and October. You still have November and December, end of the year, to consolidate and rebuild your ranks. And then the next 6 months to do what? Because you already existed in the hearts and minds of millions of Nigerians, in every home, in every village, in every ward. Not that the party is the best, like others will say, but if you don't have a party as strong as PDP, marshalling this multi-party democratic front to resist this increasing hybrid nature of this regime, this authoritarian mindset, its descent into liberalism and authoritarianism. If you don't have the PDP with its wide nationwide presence, it's not just a question of coalition in space, but the coalition in context. That's why the PDP is vital to the survival of opposition politics, being one of the legacy parties of this republic from 1998.
Well, Prof, we have to thank you very much for coming on the program this morning, and we hope that you will come again when we invite you.
I'm always available for you.
Thank you so much. Professor Udenta is the founding national secretary for the Alliance for Democracy, and we've been speaking on developments around politics in our country. Sunrise will continue in just a moment. Please stay with us.